In November of 2023, the Swell Pod took a 10-day journey across 5 states, traveling 3,580 miles with one challenge in mind.
And that challenge was to interview 100 pleasantly rebellious humans to uncover deep truths about what it takes to create something that has never existed before, challenge the status quo, maybe even change the world.
This is the Kiln Road Trip, created and produced by the Swell Pod.
In partnership with Kiln, Moterra Camper Vans, and sponsored by Taurus.
I'm Spencer McKeown.
And I'm Josh Taylor, and together we're the co-hosts of the Swell Pod and your guides on the Kiln Road Trip. Follow along on the journey.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow the Swell Pod on social media, and subscribe to your YouTube channel at, you guessed it, the Swell Pod.
This is interview 43 of the Kiln Road Trip, and today we're at Kiln Provo talking with Robbie Law. Robbie is the founder and CEO of Postur. Postur helps to confidently build your influence, your business, and your life by becoming an elite communicator. Their platform sales presentation methodology is designed to build your confidence, improve your career, and create powerful relationships in your life. Robbie has been a platform speaker, has spoken at 5,000 events over the last 22 years, and now coaches speakers, authors, and business owners to use speaking to drive revenue. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome to the Swell Podcast, Robbie Law. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Well, we're in the middle of a road trip for the Kiln Road Trip. We're excited to have you on. Could you quickly just introduce your name and what you do and what you're passionate about?
Yeah, my name is Robbie Law. I run a company called Postur. We improve events. I coach speakers, and I help drive revenue from events and help people turn their speaking into revenue for their company.
Excellent. That's great. And can you give me an example of kind of the typical thing that you would do?
Yeah, so let's say there's a CEO that's looking to raise capital. They got to know how to have that conversation on stage with investors and how to have a call to action at the end so they can bring them forward. Could be someone who's looking to sell a product from stage, some sort of service, and they've got an opportunity at a conference, and so they get up and they give their little keynote speech and have a good call to action at the end to help drive people towards some of their products, things like that.
You said the name of the company was
Postur.
That's an incredible name for what you do. I love that.
Yeah, and I think my definition of posture is a little different than what most people think. I think a lot of people think of posture, they think of their body. I think of it more as a mental state that people have. Confidence in my product, confidence in my message, be able to get up on any stage and be able to share that with power.
Yeah.
So anybody that's in a position where they're front facing for their company, we know they need good communication skills. Yeah. So that's where I come in.
When you go, so with all the people that you've worked with so far, is there any common, I want to say flaw, right? Is there any common similarity that a lot of people kind of share that you kind of initially help coach them through?
Yeah, I think there's an attempt to gain credibility. Every time people stand on stage, they want people to feel like really I'm the guy. You can trust me, and it's this kind of false approach to gaining credibility. If you can just do it fast and gain credibility with some, quick statement and value statement, then you don't have to spend time telling your own story. I used to have some speakers that I was coaching just time them when they were telling their story and just go, okay, hit the stopwatch. And 10 minutes later, we've got their whole life story. We know nothing about anything that's actually valuable for us. Yeah. And so that turns us off. And so learning how to gain credibility or establish credibility, I think is something that's really important.
Yeah.
That's big mistake people make. Probably the biggest mistake, I think.
Yeah. So just do it as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Well, just have a plan for it. Have a plan for credibility so that you don't get up there and then suddenly go, oh crap, I got to tell my whole story. And then I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
Over the last 22 years, I've given 5,000 live events. I've got a system to help people to close from stage.
Sold.
Credible?
Right there. Yeah.
It's like you know how to say your story fast and in a way where you can just have your credibility. So I teach something that's called 2 numbers and a result. It's a very simple strategy that we can have that we can then suddenly go, okay, let's talk about you and how you need value right now. And now we can turn the time over to them, so to speak, and they're ready to listen because we have authority at that point.
We're interviewing 100 people over the course of 8 days.
Yeah.
And we're going to find the answer to a single question.
Which is?
What does it take to create an idea and turn it into a movement? Community. I don't know. Something like
we
that.
Don't, we don't
maybe
know
that's the question, though, is what does it take to take an idea and turn it into a community?
Yeah.
I feel like Kiln's done that. I'll tell you my story if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I became a Kiln member like very early on. I was probably one of the first ones. And it's been the greatest experience I've ever had in a shared workspace. I was also at WeWork and Spaces, and there's another one that was a smaller one. But, you know, with Kiln, it's been such an easy community to be a part of because the people that work here, I could go to Peyton, I could talk about Caleb, I could talk about Weston, I could talk about Becca and or Bella, sorry, and I could just talk about every one of them who's had an impact on my personal business. I ran an event there last week, and just the team helping put it together and going over the top to make sure that the professional atmosphere was there. Yeah. I've been in a lot of places. I've worked with a lot of event teams, and the people that are trying to push to help you, that's community right there. It comes from that internal drive to like, I want to support Kiln because Kiln represents something. And I know it every time I walk into a new one, because I've been at the very first one and the next one, and then the one in Provo. I haven't been to, you know, to Meridian or to Boulder, but I know they exist, and I know they're run the same way because it starts at the top, and I get to see, is it Arian? Yeah, I get to see him, and he's in Lehigh sometimes, and you talk to him, and I know he's got a lot going on, but he still takes time to say hi and pour into you as he can, you know, in the time that he has. So that's my like testimony of Kiln, because it honestly, like, I wish I had like an affiliate code to like share with people. And be like,
It's 10% towards
I
you.
look around and I go, I remember when I had the conversation and you decided to get a membership here, you know, and it's just a great community, and the people here are amazing.
That's cool.
Yeah, that's good. It is like what I said at the send off event. It's like a company with a heart and a soul, and that is really community, right? Versus other co-working spaces, which may be a little bit soulless.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the way I felt when I was in WeWork. It's like, oh, cool, I get treats, yay! But I didn't know the person's name who was bringing them to me. Yeah, because they weren't like taking the time to like pour into me and stop and ask me about my day, you know, like Weston does. Like, dude's got the best hair on the planet, by the way, right? But you know, he'll stop and he'll take time with you, and he makes good eye contact. And every single person that I bring in, when I bring a client in there, I'm at Kiln because I work from home, and I traveled my whole career. I don't have a big, huge need for a massive office for what I do. My team is remote, and so I have, you know, really not a huge need, but I got to have a nice place to meet my clients. And so when I bring my clients in, I'm expecting the best for them too, and they walk in and they get the same treatment that I get, which has been excellent from the very beginning, you know.
Well, if you think about it, when you're in a big corporate office, sometimes you wouldn't know the receptions or the security names. Sometimes they might not call you by name, but you're going to walk in and Weston's going to say, hey, Robbie, how are you doing? And maybe even meet your clients. Who knows? But
well, a lot of those clients turn into eventual members at Kiln too, you know, because they're meeting with me, you know, a lot of times because their lifestyle is pretty remote, because a lot of speakers are traveling around to give speeches, you know, so they don't have a lot of office space. So it makes sense for them to come to a place like Kiln and look at it and say, what can make my business look more professional and still keep within a budget for someone who's working as a solopreneur like that. You know, I mean, when I first started at Kiln, my business was a startup, and it was just me like going from 5,000 live events as a speaker into, I can coach you. I can show you how to do this. I know how to get this done for you. That was a proving point for me where I had to go in and prove it. And so Kiln helped me, you know, as a business that had a smaller budget, to come in and go, you got a place to build your business right here. And I was abusing that privilege, you know, because there is so much that is offered at Kiln.
So help me understand. So you were originally you spoke.
I still speak all the time. I have events every weekend or every couple weeks, you know, I still speak, but it was, you know, I traveled for 15 years just getting up and giving events, you know, a different city every day, 2 events in that hotel, and then you'd move to the next hotel, and it was just on the speaker circuit, and it's hugely fulfilling, man. I mean, I've got all this opportunity. No, I'll get to that part.
I chose the wrong word there.
This is part of the speaking thing. You got to set up this thing. Dude, you're killing the whole thing. But it was so fulfilling, because like you stand on stage, you give everything, you feel like you're doing this, I'm doing this good thing, and then you go back to this lonely hotel room. Right. And it's seriously draining. And by the time my kids were, you know, 5, 8, and 11, and I'm looking across the room at them, I'm going, man, I've missed so much. I don't want to miss one more day. I couldn't do it. Like, my heart couldn't give another moment to everybody else. I wanted to like do this for me. So I went from like playing, like as you would say, like on the field to the coaching side.
Yeah.
And there's a level of learning that goes there. Like you have to learn how to deal with egos. You think, dude, dealing with speakers, the biggest egos on the planet, like CEOs, authors, people that are on TV that have status, those egos are hard to tame sometimes. And it's so great when you get to work with people who have achieved a lot, but they're still willing to listen and be coachable. And it took time to learn.
We've got to wind back here.
Well, I was going to ask, what got you into speaking in the first place?
Serious? Money. Yeah. Like straight up, like there's a lot of money in it. And that's like, I know it sounds really like abrupt, but it was an opportunity to really build wealth for my family. And so I thought, I want to go make some money doing this. And so I developed the skill set, like trying to make the story quick for you, man. I know we don't have a lot of time.
No, you're good.
That's good.
Yeah. So
keep going.
I got into it because my mentor's wife went into labor. Had been training to try and get the opportunity on stage, but I look really young, and I look younger. I'm 43 now. I was 25 when I got this exact opportunity, and I looked like I was 12. And so they wouldn't put me in the stage role as the main act, because I just didn't look the part, at least to them. But I was working, man. I was spending nights up till 2 a.m. with my mentor going, tell me more about how to, dial in a command statement. What does it look like on a call to action? How do I build rapport faster? And he was just teaching me the playbook that's been built by Tony Robbins and all these other guys. And, he was teaching me that stuff. And so when it was my turn, and his wife went into labor, he called me up and he's like, I'm flying home, you're up. And I was like, let's do this. I got up that day, did really well for 2 events, well enough for the owner to call me on the way home. I remember the whole thing, Sacramento, driving home from the airport. And he's calling me and he's like, hey man, you want to go to Tampa next week? I'm like, let's do this. So I had a team that next week. And I was, from that point forward, I didn't stop speaking for years, man, because it was an addiction. It was so fun, and it was a new hotel every day and new people, and oh man, it was fun. I miss it for sure, but I don't miss that I can see that my kids are now 12, 15, and 18, and I took the time when it was time to really, get back to the roots of what really matters for me. And you can see it in the relationship with my wife. You can see it in the relationship with my kids. I learned what matters for me. And so now the next phase, because I still got lots in me, man.
Yeah.
I'm still young. Next phase is the part where I'm like, you can see my energy right now, man. I'm like stoked, bro.
Dude, yeah.
And you're gonna help. The next stage is the training
impact
of others.
The impactful. Yeah, that's my next stage. Is impact the impactful. Yeah. So I love coaching. I've got some great clients. I mean, I don't want to name drop, but I've got some great clients, and as I get to work with really high level people, it just opens up great networks, and it's like an upward trend that, I just like to sit on. It's like an escalator, and I just get to continue doing it because I feel like the time that I put in, when I say 5,000 events, I mean more than that, because I've done the math on how many I did. I kept track of it. I did that, and it's a real number, and it's exhausting to think about. But man, I was in the refiner's fire for so long, learning that the skills that I've got, I'm ready to share them, man. I'm ready to give them to people that are ready to learn them. But that's the key. Like, they got to be ready, because, I got stuff that can really help you, and you've got to be the type of person who's ready to really help people, because that's who I'm looking to help, those that are ready to impact, and, I'm ready to step in and do that.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Give them posture.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, posture. Yeah. I like that. You worked it back in there. I see what you did there. Yeah. Before we get into the rest of the episode, we want to thank the partners and sponsors who made the Kiln Road Trip possible. The Kiln Road Trip is brought to you by Kiln. Kiln is a boutique co-working and flex office community with 13 locations in 6 states across the West, dedicated to providing innovative workspaces that empower your team to thrive. Whether you're a solo visionary or an enterprise-level team of up to 100, Kiln transcends being merely a place to work. It's a hub for learning and connecting with like-minded professionals that will make you and your team love where you work.
And if you haven't stepped foot inside a kiln yet, you really need to. On this road trip, we visited every single location, and trust us when we say once you see these beautifully designed spaces, meet the talented team, and connect with fellow members, you won't want to work anywhere else.
Locations include include Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Arizona. And they're growing too, with multiple locations set to open in 2024.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the Kiln locations nearest you by booking a tour at kiln.com and answer Swell in the question, how did you hear about us? Once you complete the tour, you'll be entered into a competition where you could win a 1-year membership, their club membership at Kiln.
Yep, you heard that. That's kiln.com, book a tour, and be sure to mention Swell in the question, how did you hear about us?
The Kiln Road Trip is also brought to you by Moterra Campervans, a luxury campervan rental company for iconic road trips. Their top-of-the-line vans are available at 7 locations located near America's best outdoor adventure destinations. They have consistently earned the highest customer ratings in the industry, making Moterra Campervans your gateway to adventure without sacrificing on comfort or service.
That's true, and initially we wanted to take this journey in a 1960s VW bus, but thankfully we found Moterra instead. With 3 van options, we took the Pop Top Classic, which sleeps 4 and is best for those who want to maximize floor space and storage. This was critical for us because it needed to sleep the entire crew, we needed space to edit, and we were traveling with large amounts of equipment, luggage, and other goodies that we picked up along the way.
And this van took us through all 3,580 miles of the trip. Super comfortable and sweet to drive.
And actually, Moterra offers fully planned itineraries if you'd rather leave the planning to someone else.
Visit gomoterra.com/swell. That's gomoterra.com/swell.
This episode is also brought to you by Taurus. Taurus is leading the charge in home energy storage. Taurus makes it easy to achieve energy independence and a greener tomorrow. The Taurus Station provides everything you need to generate clean power, efficiently store electricity, and easily manage your energy use.
And installing a Taurus station offers plenty of benefits, including save money on your electricity bill,
also ensure energy security with backup power during outages,
reduce carbon emissions with renewables.
You can also automate EV charging and HVAC systems with 100% renewables.
And enjoy unrivaled system monitoring and support.
If you like the sound of those benefits, get a quote to build your Taurus station in less than 30 seconds. Super easy at taurus.co. That's TORUS.co. Now, let's get back to the episode.
So 2 last questions.
Yeah. So we obviously know what the last question is, but one tip. So you mentioned kind of the common flaw, but I'm also interested just in, for people who, I may be leading into the last question, but for people who have an idea and we'll just add this into the last question. So if people who have an idea, they want to create a movement, they want to create something that's never existed before, but all they have is that idea and themselves. What should they do?
Well, first of all, understand what it takes to take an idea fully through to implementation, because that length of time requires a human being willing to go through that. And it is not as easy as everybody makes it out to be and all that. I've been sitting in rooms of entrepreneurs helping guide that moment where it's like, I've got an idea. What do I do? And what I like to say is I'm the spark to their fire. So I love to spark people on that. Go, you can do this. But I also like to set proper expectations. So set the proper expectations for yourself. Still dream, but know that you've got a lot to grow on. And I didn't say that by accident. You have a lot to grow on constantly. And there's things mentally that we've got to learn how to do. There's things we have to do to learn the work balance better, work-life balance. We've got to learn how to take care of ourselves, our health, our mental health, our, the state of mind that we have and what we're thinking about, what we're focusing on and how that expands in our life. Those are all things that do require us to reflect. And in a world like we have today, people very rarely reflect. They typically just like, what do I do to move forward and stuff?
Yeah.
Looking back on what things have worked and taking time to actually slow down a little bit and say, how can we progress that way? That will help set proper expectations. Taking an idea all the way through takes an individual willing to go through it all.
That's a unique answer that we haven't received. And I think that's really good advice. It's like, just saying you just need grit. Well, actually, you need to understand the process, what you're getting yourselves into here, right? And you can do it. You just need to have that readiness.
I think there's a young lady named Amy Stellhorn. She talks about this moment I don't believe that it takes grit. Like, I don't think that's really what I'm trying to say is like, it takes grit. You just got to power through. I think that there is times and seasons, chapters, and there's proper ways to get through each one. So have a mentor for every stage, know people that have already been through it, follow the experienced, take advice from those that really offer advice that should, and then manage advice from people that shouldn't be giving you advice, because sometimes it's good, but you can't take all of it, because if they've not been through it, I still don't, I mean, thank you, but I want to listen to people that have done it before, you know, so have those mentors and those picking places along the way.
That's great advice. And I think you're part of one of those mentors, right? For the part that you've already described.
Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of like, I mean, some of my clients are at the very end where they're at the impact level. Some are at the beginning where they're saying, I got an idea that can impact, that's great. You know, but it just, when it's time to impact, you know, give me a call.
It's funny. So let me just say something real quick. So like a lot of these interviews here at Provo, like I've just been kind of like, you know, like this a little bit, you know, kind of leaning back, trying to be comfy, you know, so everybody feels comfy. Yeah. But I'm not joking. Like I'm like this with this one, you know, eye contact directly the entire, my back is straight. Like I felt like, I don't know, it was just something about this conversation that got me.
It's the energy.
That got me like this.
Josh spoke at TEDx.
I did. Yeah.
And he did a great job speaking.
It was my first dive into public speaking. It was crazy.
Terrifying, but you were so good.
Yeah.
A whole other podcast on that right there.
Yeah.
Come on mine, man.
I'll be there. We'll have a talk. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yes,
well,
thank you.
Thank you so much. And we appreciate you coming down here and being part of the 100.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Robbie.
You guys.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Kiln Road Trip. Be sure to follow along on the rest of the journey, and you can do that in two ways. One, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or maybe even watching on YouTube, and follow along on all of our social media platforms, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, at the Swell Pod. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.